Well, you're going to grill me this Sunday. Welcome to Shepherd's Coffee Talk.
Yeah, people have been asking for it, so we're going to deliver it. Marlene was so reluctant. I've been asking her since we started Coffee Talk, can we share your story? And she's like, why would people want to hear my story? But it was other people saying it to Marlene that really made her kind of break down and say, okay, I don't even know what people want to know, but I think I have some ideas. So we're going to start with, where were you in 1978? What were you up to? I know that I was working in radio. I probably had fuchsia hair, not much of a care in the world. And you, with your mom, decided to build a business.
Well, yeah, and I was in broadcasting before.
Right, that's right.
For about 3.5 years in radio and a little bit of TV. And, it wasn't my jive, know. Yeah. So I decided, every girl's dream is to go to Europe for a year or travel around. And I said, at 23, 24, that's what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. So I went off to Europe and I spent a year working and traveling.
On your own?
Yes, on my own. What? Yes. And I gave up a good job because I was with Contemporary News, doing News on the Hill, worked with the Chum Group, and then started to do some TV. But it
just didn't feel right.
I said, no, this is really not for me, and this is an opportunity to do it. So I went to the south of France, not a bad place to go, to study French, which of course I've lost totally by
Bonjour.
now.
That's okay.
Bonjour, ça va bien.
Oui.
J'étudie le français le sud de France, dans une petite ville comme Cap d'Aille.
Okay.
Cap d'Aille
was your home.
Yes,
okay, that's
good.
neat. That's neat.
Anyway, so traveled a year, worked there, worked in a casino as a credit officer. So, and know that you just never go into a casino unless you know you're going to lose.
If you have $20 and you want to throw it away,
fun.
Take it to the casino and give it to them. Yeah.
So anyway, came back after a year and wanted to sink my teeth into something, and noticed in Europe a lot of the ladies loved accessories. They wore the big costume jewelry, lots of scarves, belts. They were big believers in accessories. And at that time in Canada and North America, women were still wearing, do you remember the little gold chains, the little tiny stud earrings, and that time it had to be real.
Right.
And of course, which is not happening in Europe. It was all costume jewelry.
Right.
So at that time in Ottawa, 240 Spark Street had just been built. And it was anchored by Holt Renfrew. And it was just a small 3-floor a shopping center.
But central.
But it was the first of its kind. There was no Rideau Center. And it was so elegant, beautiful shops. And my mother and I sort of looked at one another and said, I think that's why don't we open up a kiosk there of just accessories?
Why not?
So that's what we did in 1978.
But we want to share the story, because people think, so there's one point I want to make just to your point about you tried broadcasting, but it wasn't for you. Because sometimes people see a person or they recognize their profile, and you were Miss Ottawa Rough Rider, you had stuff going on, and people thought, oh, this person would be a great broadcaster. So we listened to other people's opinions, we try things. If it doesn't work for you, it's okay. It doesn't work for you. Find the next thing that might be right for you, and then the next thing until you find the right thing. So that's really brilliant.
And I wanted to, way back when I was 18, wanted to be an airline stewardess because I wanted to travel. So, look what it ends up.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It always, and be open to those changes.
And be open to change,
and listen to those doors, those knocks at the door.
Because there's no failure. There is no failure. So talk about the story about how you and your mom got the lease on the kiosk, because that's interesting. Talks about perseverance.
Well, yes, at 240 Spark Street, as I say, small, there was maybe only about 32 stores. And when we went to approach and knock on the door, and it was the government, it was the government-owned building, so you had to go through the government agency to see. There were no vacancies at that time. So we thought, well, what about a kiosk? And there weren't too many at that time. So we went knocking on the door and they said, no, not interested in kiosk. And without saying something like this, but we're not interested in you two because you have no experience. I don't know if it was because we were both women, but
we'll never know.
We're not interested. So we just persevered and we said, no, we loved our idea. We're going to bring in accessories and jewelry from New York, things that you've seen in magazines. And we thought it was a perfect match to the stores that were at 240 Spark Street. So we kept persisting and calling him. And no avail, wasn't interested in, just would shut us down. So we said, okay, you know what we're going to do? We're going to wait outside his office.
Stalk him, basically.
We're going to stalk him. We're going to wait outside his office at lunch hour. He's got to go for lunch, and we're going to travel down the elevator with him. And we're going to keep doing this until we can convince him. And lo and behold, that's what we did. My mother and I sat outside his office, and he was very surprised to see us travel down the elevator. Again, we had our pitch, 11 floors. We did our pitch again about trying to convince him how we were the right thing. Eventually, he gave in, and we opened in December of 1978 our first 150 square foot kiosk.
Wow.
With accessories.
Right. And you're working central to all the people in government downtown who could walk by, create that awareness, build that brand awareness. Back in the day, we didn't really know anything about that. But that's really what you were doing. You and your mom were building this foundation for what eventually became a full-blown retail store. Tell me what it was like working with your mom.
Well, it was great. I mean, she was like, I was 26, she was like 56. But, we had a family hotel before, a small country hotel. So she was an entrepreneur, because she ran the hotel. I grew up, making beds, serving in the restaurant, etc. So I kind of had that background also. So it was our calling to be entrepreneurs and to do it ourselves. So we really were the yin and the yang, and it was great. I mean, we covered all the hours, and in those days you weren't open on Sunday, and only 2 nights a week. Right. So it was all very doable, small kiosk. Right. So we had great fun. Now, I was living at home because obviously there wasn't much money. We just kept plowing it back into the business, and then after 5 years, Rito Center opened up, which was a brand new big downtown complex, and we thought we had to be there or somebody else would be. Right, good point. So then we went ahead with. And then you started to expand into clothing, but you've always had a certain je ne sais quoi about how you've done what you've done. There's an elegance about the type of shopping you do to supply your customers with. There's, that inclusiveness. There's that recognition of that women want to feel beautiful no matter what their age or their size. And talk about that and why that's important to you. And that probably came from the yin yang with my mother and I. Probably that. As we would go out to buy, we looked at a garment from 2 different perspectives. Yes. And the thing about what we've done right from the beginning is we would always try something on. We'd always try it on to make sure it fit a woman's figure. Right. And my mother has she's 96. Bless her heart. But she used to try on a lot of the clothes because even though she was 5'3", not the size 2 model, but she was perfectly proportioned. So she was a good sort of model to try things on. So we could look at something and I could see it for a 25-year-old or 35-year-old, and she could probably see it for someone a little bit more mature. So that always stayed with us. Now, she retired when she was 80, which is 16 years ago. So she was always very involved in it. Took more of a back seat, wasn't in the stores for many of the last years, but would still have a hand in the buying. So I think that came from that selection that we have in the store comes from that perspective. And again, we still do it because we have young people involved in the business now and helping to buy, again, trying to look at it. I really don't think our clothes are for the more mature figure. I think it really is all about a style. And my daughter, who's 23, her favorite line's Eileen Fisher. But she's going to style it up differently than you or I would, right? So one of the great tips I learned from you, and I, as you're talking about you and your mom trying the clothes, that idea that it's got to look good both coming and going. I always say that. Wow, how many times are you looking when somebody goes by and they go, wow, she looks sharp or whatever. And I always tell customers, if you 3-way mirrors are great, try to walk away and walk into a mirror so you can see a swish. Yeah. So in the development of a business such as a retail store, which is no mean feat, I mean, the times are challenging no matter what area you're in, whether we're in recession or we're in full-on abundance.
there are always things you have to do to pivot. That's the thing about change, is it's welcome. It can be stressful, but it's welcome. And you have certainly pivoted over the years to meet the needs of your customers and your business, because you sometimes expand and then you sometimes have to contract a little bit. So you did go from one store to, at one point you had three
stores in the major shopping areas in Ottawa. And at one time we sort of thought about franchising and going outside of Ottawa, but then I got married.
Right.
I got married at 41, had my first child at 42 and a second at 44, so that kind of changed directions. And
she
all
started
of a sudden,
a family after 40.
We started a little late. I'd never been married before, so, and of course it's been absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I have a beautiful son and daughter and a wonderful husband, and that just took me on another little journey, which said, okay, you know, I'm really going to just stay within Ottawa.
Right.
So we stayed in the centers, and then, you know, as things evolve, the shopping centers were becoming less relevant. People were shopping online.
Online, yeah, right.
And that's what we started, I think it's 4 years ago, we started going online.
When shopping online started, I thought, is this really a thing? Like, can you actually? Yes, you can, especially if you know your size in a certain brand. And because Shepherd's carries certain brands, people know what works for them, which is just genius. Now, that's a big pivot too, because now you're not only in one central location in train yards in Ottawa, but now you're all over the world online. So what's that been like as you've grown that section of the business?
Well, I mean, it's been amazing. I mean, it's so exciting. We have an amazing, fantastic team of all ages, and that's what I love about our business. Is we have 22-year-olds up to, you know, 74-year-olds that are involved in it, and everybody has an equal voice. Everybody participates in it. Ideas are always coming forward. We really welcome an openness. You know, there's like no question is a bad question.
Right,
It's
yeah.
the same thing. No idea is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Let's hear it all, because we sit in our you know, in our boardroom, and we have, I mean, the laughter that comes out of that, and the ideas are crazy, but you never know, they end up into be wonderful places. And I think the driving force to our success online and in the store has been the videos that we do, that where we really show women that this is how you wear this new style. If this is your body shape, this is how we can accentuate it and make you feel and look your best.
Right.
And there are little tips of the trade that we you know, that we share.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the videos have really driven our business that way.
It makes it more comprehensive, and this idea of building community, which you have done so successfully, I think without even intending to do that. You know, you want loyal customers, but on top of loyal customers, you've created community where people say, I know one of your customers calls Shepherd's her second home, her happy place. I mean, that's because when she comes in here, there's always something happy to see and experience with the people who work here. Talk about loyalty, because you have had staff who've been with you for a long time, some who have left and come back. So it really is something about how you're doing what you're doing.
Well, you know, because everybody is so valuable. Everybody has great ideas, and they just have to feel safe about sharing them, and that people are open to it. They're not going to be put down or shamed or ridiculed. It's because it can lead to another. So, and I feel everybody has such value in what they have to contribute. You just need to open the door to them. And so I'm hopefully with this environment, when they work with us, they see that what they offer can make a difference to the company, and most importantly to the customer.
Right.
Because when the customer comes in and has a wonderful experience, obviously that's a reflection of the business. So their participation too, when we're buying, you know, we try to get staff to try it on. In our videos, our staff are in the videos.
Right.
We'll come out on the sales floor even when customers are here, and we'll say, what do you think? This is for next fall. Do you like it? Do you not like it? So again, it's just opening up your mind and your heart to diversification, right? To different ideas. So, and it's a fun place to work.
It's a fun place to come to.
We try to keep up with the times, of course, with fashion, but with getting to the customer, servicing the customer.
Yes.
And that's first and foremost. I mean, having been in this business 41 years in one city, you have got to react solve problems. If there is one with a customer, solve it.
Sure.
You know, and try to avoid any further ones. So that's always been our mantra, is that the customer is number one, and we just, and everybody's on the same page.
Yes.
So we just, we have to do what's best for them.
It's all about serving your customer, finding what works for you, and then giving that to the world. I think it's really tremendous that, you know, as we've developed Coffee Talk, you and I joke about how great it is in our 60s to be learning new skills. This whole online thing,
sure.
the whole universe of the internet, which has created so much opportunity. I mean, on our river cruise, we had Dot and Donna, our twin friends from California. We had Myra from the Yukon come to join us. So, you know, it's the net has spread out, Marlene. And Dot and Donna joke that, you know, they've never been to Shepherd's, but they feel like they're part of the community, and they would love to be here at our events and experience our Coffee Talk Live with us too. If they could, they would definitely be here. So, you know, I think it's really commendable that you have stuck with something, grown it, shaped it, pivoted with it. That is the secret to success, don't you think?
Absolutely. You've got to react to what people are asking and listen to what they're looking for, and that's why these videos are so wonderful, because we get a large quantity of comments, positive and negative, but that helps us grow.
Right.
But the other thing that we've done in the years that we've been in business, and you talked about being part of the community, as of course you have been too, Kathy, with your involvement in the Ottawa, and everybody knows you. You walk down the street and they all remember the great shows that you've been involved with, and of course, you know, the one that is very famous,
Regional
Contact. How many years were you
Oh,
on that show?
the show went for almost 40 years as a half-hour weekly show, and I was fortunate enough to share it with Joel Hassan for 14 of those years.
That's a lot. And you knew the community. But you need to be part of the community if you're going to be in business here.
Sure.
And our fashion fundraisers have been doing that, you know, where we open up our store to people who want to raise money for an event. They charge ticket prices, whatever they want. Our store they can use free of charge. We put on a fashion show, and we give 10% of the sales back to the organization. So I think we've raised over $80,000 over the last 6-7 years, but we're opening that up to virtual fundraisers now.
Oh, cool.
So, which I think is kind of a cool idea. So if you have an organization you're wanting to raise money for in your community, and actually it could be anywhere in the world now,
right.
And what we can do is we can put on a fashion show, a virtual fashion show for your group, directed to them, and then if they buy online, say within a 48-hour period, we will give 10% of those sales back to your organization. So I think it's a really neat idea, because, you know, raising money these days is difficult.
Very challenging.
Not everybody wants to come out to something.
Exactly. And people are pulled in so many directions.
Or
Make
pay a
it
ticket.
easy. Yeah, make it easy.
So really, if you have an organization, all you need to do is just send out an email to your list to watch a video we have, and if they buy, we'll give you 10% of what they bought.
So that is clever.
Virtual fundraisers.
Oh, the always evolving Marlene Shepherd. Thank you for sharing your story. There's so much we could talk about, and we'll probably come back and do it again sometime.
You see, I get going and I don't shut up.
No, we love that about you. So if you have questions for Marlene, pop them in the comments below, and we wish you an absolutely beautiful day. Thanks, Marlene.